Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman on the Supreme Court, may have some advice for the next. The Today Show interview tomorrow.
D-Day.
Good morning. Summer sizzle. Temperatures soar into the 90s and 100s with heat indexes well above, setting records in numerous states. Payday, Citigroup, the mega bank that received $45 billion in taxpayer money it's yet to repay, plans to hike employee salaries by as much as 50%. And the Obama administration's own rules could make them powerless to prevent it. And Kate speaks out. The John and Kate Plus 8 star opens up about divorce, how they told the kids, how John pushed for the split, and why it's too painful to take off her wedding ring today, Wednesday, June 24th, 2009.
From NBC News, this is Today with Matt Lauer and Meredith Vieira, live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza.
And good morning. Welcome to Today on a Wednesday morning. I'm Matt Lauer.
And I'm Meredith Vieira. How long have we been complaining about the cool weather here?
You forever.
You and I both for a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, we've been moaning.
Right, but be careful what you wish for, because we are now facing a scorcher from coast to coast.
And we're not just talking about the traditional hot spots. Minneapolis hit the high 90s on Tuesday. They had a heat index there up about 105 degrees. Al Roker is in Galveston, Texas this morning. You can bet he'll be feeling the heat down there as well. He's going to have his forecast for us coming up real soon.
Yeah, he's already got his short sleeves on there. Also this morning, President Obama takes a harder line when it comes to Iran. The president said that he is appalled and outraged, those were his words, over the government's post-election crackdown during his news conference on Tuesday. But should he have come forward sooner? Some believe he should have. We'll get into that.
All right, and we're going to talk about some fresh outrage from victims of admitted swindler Bernie Madoff, the man behind that $65 billion Ponzi scheme. His sentencing is set for next week, and now Madoff's attorney is asking the judge for about 12 years in prison. We're going to tell you what his victims have to say about that. But first, let's get to the extreme heat that's affecting many portions of the country. Al, as we just mentioned, is down in steamy Galveston, Texas. Al, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Matt. 85 degrees here. It already feels like it's 90 with the heat index. Take a look. The wide area of heat advisories, excessive heat warnings and heat advisories stretching from the Gulf Coast all the way to the Upper Plains, Chicago, Minneapolis, Topeka, Kansas City. Why is this happening? Big area, massive area of high pressure in the upper atmosphere is acting like a heat pump, and that is funneling up warm, hot air and then a lot of moisture along the Gulf. And in fact, the wide area stretching from the Gulf Coast all the way to Minnesota, we're talking about oppressive conditions. These are high temperatures. Little Rock 100, Chicago 94, Detroit 93, Tampa 94, Atlanta 93. But when you factor in the heat and humidity, it feels like it's actually anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees above. It'll feel like 100 in Tampa, 106 in New Orleans, Indianapolis 97, Tulsa 109, and we have at least another 24 to 48 hours of these oppressive temperatures. Meredith?
Al, thank you very much. And now to a Wall Street story that might make some people hot under the collar. Citigroup wants to move away from paying big bonuses by instead giving nearly 300,000 workers large pay increases. And it is not alone. CNBC's Melissa Lee is at the New York Stock Exchange with the details. Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning to you, Meredith. Well, many Americans remain out of work, and everyone's 401k plans have taken big hits. Some banks who have gotten TARP money are again profitable, and now they are spreading that wealth to their employees.
After being bailed out by taxpayer money last year,
this is not an expenditure. This is an investment.
The biggest banks on Wall Street seem to be back in business.
Didn't answer the question from that blogger, which was, what conditions would you accept the election of Ahmadinejad?
Questions last night.
Chuck Todd at the White House. Chuck, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Chris Matthews is the host of Hardball on MSNBC and The Chris Matthews Show. His book, The Hardball Handbook, How to Win at Life, is now out in paperback. Hey, Chris, good to see you.
Good morning, Matt.
Let me just get rid of that little weird moment there, that Huffington Post question posed, prepared.
Right, it looked awfully awkward, didn't it? Well, more and more of these things are organized. You know, the list of reporters, we know what it's going to be, whose turn it's going to be. There's no more hand-waving. I prefer the more spontaneous, but that looked particularly awkward. They're apparently trying to hook in with the twittering over there in Iran. They're trying to get in online rather than broadcast.
Was the president accurate, Chris? Was he completely forthcoming when he says he has been completely consistent in terms of the tone he's taken with Iran over the last 2 weeks?
No, because he's clearly gotten tougher. What he tried to do yesterday was splice together what he had been doing, which was, it's up to the Iranian people. Let them speak. We don't want to get ahead of them, to throwing these shots against what's going on over there. He tried to do it both ways yesterday.
So if he says he's not bowing to pressure from Republicans like John McCain, how do you explain the shift?
He's bowing. And I think what he's doing is bowing. And I think that funny answer with, do you think, to the reporter, do you really think I'm bowing? But I also think that he's trying to play a chess game, and we're looking at a checkers game over here. I think in the long run, he keeps saying the word consequences. He knows he's going to have to deal with Ahmadinejad and the mullahs down the road. He's going to have to deal with them. I was going
to ask you if the tough words yesterday were almost an admission that he can no longer deal with them.
Well, I think he has to deal with them, and I think he knows that. But he keeps saying, let's see how this thing plays out. We were all positively surprised by what happened in Lebanon. Hope is a big part of this guy's life. And playing along, remember during the campaign, the reporters kept saying, get tough with Senator Clinton. Take a shot at her. And he said, I'll wait my turn. He is a very slow, deliberative guy, and he's been lucky so far.
Let's talk about health care. That was another subject covered at the press conference. He said reform is not a luxury, it's a necessity, but he has not given any real specifics in terms of how he plans to pay for what is going to be an exorbitantly expensive plan.
Yes, and these are brutal questions he doesn't want to answer right now. Suppose he comes out and says, I'm going to go with the Wyden plan, and I'm going to tax all benefits, like GE benefits. All benefits everybody's getting now are going to be taxed to pay for everybody else's benefits. That's a brutal statement to people who have insurance right now. Suppose he says, I'm going to have an individual mandate. So everybody watching television who's 18 or 25 years old is going to have to pay for insurance. These are tough questions.
And how does he
doesn't want to answer them yet.
And how does he address the 35 million or so people who are still not going to be covered under this plan when he promised universal health care during the campaign?
Matt, I think the answer to that is we're going to get a health care bill in October, and he's going to sign it. A bill is better than no bill. Rahm Emanuel keeps saying that victory is the only non-negotiable fact. Ted Kennedy learned in the old days in the Nixon administration. Bill Clinton learned in the 90s, something's better than nothing. This fellow's going to sign a bill.
Use the hardball handbook here and give advice. He's had a tough week. You know,
it's a hard week because the honeymoon's over.
Criticism on Iran, some health care problems in Congress. The popularity numbers are dropping. What's the piece of advice?
Well, first of all, they're plateaued. They're down in the low 60s. He's okay, but he's not in the honeymoon anymore. That's what's different. I think he's right about Iran, and Americans are terrible about this. Maybe I'm terrible about it. Listen to what's happening in Iran. It's not us. It's not an echo of our... They're not waving American flags over there. They don't like us. If we get involved, we hurt that Iranian moderation force over there. I think listen to that revolution for a couple more weeks and see where it's headed. I think he's right on that.
Chris Matthews. Chris, thanks. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Matt.
By the way, an excerpt from Chris's book is on our website at todayshow.com, and you can catch Hardball weeknights at 5 and 7 p.m. Eastern on MSNBC. Once again, here's Meredith.
Matt, thank you. And now to the latest on Washington's deadliest commuter train crash in the system's 30